There were other cartoons that were coming and going and stuff. So when Winx Club came around, I was really enthralled by the freshness of the show. Hey, you got these magic girls going to a school, learning to enhance their powers or fighting witches. The whole concept was just right for the time. Hey there! Welcome to the Winx Forever Podcast. Join creator, host, and lifelong Winx fan, Lola Valentine, as she invites you to take a deep dive into the very cool universe of Winx Club. So whether you've been a Winx fan since 2004, or you vaguely remember the show from your childhood, or even if you've just been introduced to it for the first time, welcome. This is the Winx Forever Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Winx Forever Podcast. I'm your host, Lola Valentine. And this week, we are coming to a close on season 2 of the Winx Forever Podcast. And I'm just so excited for the guest for the next 2 episodes is none other than Michael from Michael's Winx Club, the legendary Winx Fan Site and the first American Winx Fan Site. And I so enjoyed my conversation with Michael, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. I apologize in advance for my audio. For some reason, past Lola did not check her mic settings, and so there are moments where it sounds a little rough, but I hope you will bear with it because the content of the conversation is absolutely amazing, and I just can't thank Michael enough for his time, and it was just such a joy to have him on. So I hope you enjoy. Friends, and welcome back to Winx Forever Podcast. I'm your host, Lola Valentine, and today I am joined by a very special friend, the creator of the very popular Winx Club fan site, Michael's Winx, Michael Grant himself. Wow, thank you so much for being on the show today, and happy early birthday.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Good, absolutely. So now for the newer Winx fans, for maybe you've joined the fandom in the past couple of years, just a little background. You might not know who Michael is, but his name is legendary. He made a fan site that you created literally just 6 days after the very first episode premiered in the US.
That's right.
And that ran up until the website's retirement in 2019. So wow, 15 years of that.
Yes.
I mean, that is a feat. That is awesome. And this fan site, I mean, Michael wrote like articles of the latest Winx news, all of the happenings, as well as like new like Winx archives of just every Winx event worldwide, a character list of all the voice actors, and oh my gosh, just so much more. The site was massive. Do you remember roughly like how many pages you had on the website itself?
Oh my gosh. I don't know that I ever counted the pages. I think I was counting the number of images, and I think I had something like 45,000 or some ridiculously large number. And I still had easily another 1,000 images or so of merchandise that I just never had time to add to the site. So yeah, I had a pretty good backlog, and yeah, I tried to update it like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if Michael's Winx Club like posted about it, I mean, it was legit. It was real, like you were a major source of like where I got a lot of my Winx news, especially like when I was reporting in the forums and on the magazine. So like, thank you for your service to this fandom. Like it is amazing.
It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Creating a website nowadays, it seems like a piece of cake, but back then, I was coding in Notepad. I was writing the HTML code manually, and I didn't know how to do any of that. I was visiting other sites, looking at their source code, and everything I learned was all self-taught.
Oh my gosh.
In the beginning, yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you can see like
just even going back and like looking at the archives of the website, like it's just like amazing because you can really see like the care and attention and like love you put into the site. So really, like from the bottom of my heart and like on behalf of like the entire Winx Club community, like you are a legend and you like really like are just so awesome for doing that for so long for the fandom.
Oh, you're too sweet.
So before we get too deep into really like your origins of the website and all that, I'd love to give our listeners just a chance to really get to know you and your Winxer history. So really, let's start with like, how did you start watching Winx Club? Like, what attracted you to the show, and like, how did you kind of find out about it?
All right. So I was already watching cartoons. I mean, growing up in the 80s, we were watching cartoons all the time. And it was just something I never outgrew. So when I saw Card Captors for the first time, it really got me into, oh my God, this is amazing. You got the Monster of the Week theme. And uh, it really got me into it so much. I was like, I wanted to build a website for it. And that's how it really got me started in the whole
Yes.
web creation genre, if you will. And so it made me want to learn and really get into it. And so the more I learned, the better I got, and the more I could make. And so several years later, you're watching cartoons on, you know, after work or Saturday morning, whatever. And
Yes.
this commercial comes up. I think it was on the Fox box back then, and the first commercial I think I saw was Flora. She was watering her pet plant that had these great big lips. And then all of a sudden, you see Techno all wrapped up in the closet. And I'm just dying on the floor laughing. It was so hilarious. And then Veronica Taylor, who's a big voice actress, she did Ash and Pokemon and a whole bunch of other character stuff. She was doing the narrations of those commercials. So it like quickly got my attention. And so back then when I was doing, screenshots for cartoons and stuff, it was hard to do them live. And so I was always putting in the VHS tape. So this is how old we are, right? Putting in the VHS tape and recording the whole thing so I could go back and capture what I needed or record WAV files for commercials and things like that. And so I was able to go back and watch those first commercials over again. And it was essentially introduction to the characters. And there was another one where they showed Techna where she had the bucket on her head and holding the mop like a staff. And I'm just cracking up. So I was like, yeah, this is something to check out for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Do you still have those VHS tapes?
They're probably plastic storage somewhere. A lot of them, you record, over again once you got what you needed versus going out and buying more. This is long before DVR for you younglings out there.
DVR, there was no streaming. We had to rough it. We really
That's right.
did.
That's right.
Incredible. Do you remember, so the first thing that you saw anything Winx Club related, the first like piece of merchandise that you ever got?
I think the first thing that I ever got, and I pulled it out of the archives here, is this 100-piece puzzle for ages 5 through 8.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I believe this was the first thing I found. And there's actually two versions, one with the girls in their costume and then one in their everyday clothes. And so I got them kind of like at the same time. But this was like probably the first thing that I ever saw.
I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, from Mattel back in the day.
Oh, Mattel back in the day. Oh, what a time. And what about just the Winx Club, like the fandom, the show, like what about it kept you engaged for so long that, kept you like writing on your site and like, part of this community?
So back then, if you remember, Pokemon was really big and whatnot. And so, you would see those all the time. And, there were other cartoons that were coming and going and stuff. So when Winx Club came around, I was really enthralled by the freshness of the show. Hey, you got these magic girls going to a school, learning to enhance their powers or fighting witches. The whole concept was just right for the time. Like it kind of filled a void we didn't know was there, and then it was there. It was like, oh my God, that's my whole world. So I remember there was one Saturday morning I was recording, the episodes. I'd go back and capture screenshots later, and I'm literally in my room folding my bed, and I hear Musa talking. I was like, oh my God, wait a minute, that's Lisa Ortiz's voice, and so that like immediately got my attention. And so for those that don't know Lisa Ortiz, fabulous
She's
voice actress.
legendary. Absolutely.
I've known
Almost
her.
as legendary as Michael himself.
That's right. Yeah. Lena Inverse from Slayers. So in Winx Club, Lisa Ortiz, this is the original version. She voiced Musa, Icy, Mitzi, and Digit.
Yep.
So, she was really well involved. And so that really got my attention, when I heard that for the first time. And what was really great about Winx Club in particular was that I could personally relate to all 5 girls.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you take Bloom, for example, you're all around friendly person, willing to help somebody else. You've got Stella, who's the shopper, loves shopping. You got Flora, who's the nature person. And I was in Boy Scouts for 10 years, so the camping, the hiking, and all that. You had Techna for technology, and I work in IT. And of course, Musa, the musician, and I'm a musician. I play multiple instruments too. So I could relate to all of them. And that was freaking awesome. And then later on, when they introduced Layla, Aisha, that was the sports element because I played soccer and volleyball and, I was active like that. So I could relate to all of them. And like, how often does that happen? Like never, right? It wasn't just that you had one favorite character because you could actually relate to all of them.
Absolutely, man. And I feel like that's something that, I mean, everyone can relate to with this show, that there is literally something for everybody. Like, I mean, and not even in just the girls, but like then we have like, all of the guys over at Red Fountain. We have like the goth kids over in Cloud Tower. It's like, like there's literally like, I mean, it hit on everything. Like if you like fantasy, if you like sci-fi, like it had so many different elements that like, I mean, like you said, like it filled a void that we didn't know we needed at the time. And I love that quote, like, because it's so true. And yeah, and I think that, yeah, a lot of people were drawn to it for similar reasons. So I love that so much. So your website, like you didn't just do Winx Club websites too. You said you were into Card Captor and like you had like the overall like Michael's favorites page, and then you had the different like all of your favorite things.
It was like I created my own network, if you will. So I had a website for Gundam Wing. I had a website for Jackie Chan adventures. It was just cartoons that we enjoyed. And then later on, I made some for like the original Super Friends, Herculoids, like the older ones that I grew up with, and whatnot. And so I kind of already had. You hate to use a term like following or followers, but I already had people that enjoyed the sites that I made. And so when I added Winx Club to, my collection of sites, it was another way to introduce it to people that might not have seen it yet. Or if I'm giving it attention, maybe they should check it out.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, the more attention that my site got, the more that I figured, well, you know what, Michael's Winx Club might as well just be the flagship of Michael's favorites. And so that's how it became. It was always listed first, and it always had, the updates that I would show, here's what's new and whatnot. Here's how many images we have so far.
Oh, yeah. Well, cool. I would love to know. I mean, a couple years ago retired the site, and that's fine. I mean, I'm sure it got to be, a lot. But what are some fan accounts today, like some Winx Club fan accounts that you still follow and that you just enjoy?
I think as as the fandom grew, some people got older, new people were added, here and there. Same was true with fan sites. Some would come, some would go, some would stick around. And so every now and then, you would find there's that one good English site, there's that one good Spanish site, there's that one good site from Russia, or whatnot. And one of the ones that I remember the most, I think, was Winx Club All, from that more of the Spanish fandom side. And she was really good at, keeping up with what's new and new merchandise pictures and things like that. And of course, she had Twitter and Instagram and everything else to spread the news, you know, outwards like that too. So that's one of the ones that I remember the most. That was like, you know, that country's ambassador, if you will.
Yeah, honestly, that's really good. That's really good. But yeah, like, I mean, there were so many sites that kind of came and went, and yours was obviously one of the longest running, up there with some of the other ones. I mean, just a handful, really, like not that many. So kudos to you for keeping it up for literally 15 years. What an incredible feat. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I like to give my guests a set of rapid fire Winx questions. Are you ready?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right. Who's your favorite Winx member?
Musa,
Favorite season?
season 4.
Favorite specialist or male warrior?
I would say Riven.
Favorite movie?
Secret of the Lost Kingdom, the first one.
That's the only right answer.
Right. Of course.
Favorite transformation?
I would say Believix. Like that one.
Favorite romantic relationship?
I would say Flora and Helia.
It's
It
my
seemed like a
favorite
pretty
too.
good match. Pretty good.
Yes. Favorite villain?
Ooh, I like Darcy. You know, she can
Ooh.
be real sneaky. I mean, look what she did to Riven in season 1. I mean, when you put your friends against each other, you know,
Man, look out.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, favorite pixie?
Oh, Digit, hands down. Love Digit.
And then favorite overall fairy?
My favorite overall fairy is Princess Galatea.
Ooh,
I love Princess
okay.
Galatea. And in fact, there was one scene where she transformed and her wings were literally treble clefs. I mean,
Yes,
that's freaking genius.
it's so
Genius.
good.
I loved that.
Oh, what a good transformation. Yes, I agree. So you really like I mean, obviously you're a Lisa Ortiz fan, but also like Melody. You like the Melody fairies, you know, the fairies from Melody, or in the Four Kids version, they were from the Harmonic
Harmonic
Nebula.
Nebula, right?
Yep.
I think music is important in people's lives. You know, it can remind you of, you know, good times. You know, singing with friends, singing in the car, singing in the shower, wherever. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, people that learn musical instruments or learn to dance or things like that, you know, it's because they want to entertain others. And so when you do that, you know, you get enjoyment out of it too. So when I saw Musa playing the flute or playing the
Mhm.
saxophone, you know, or singing on stage, I was like, yes, I want to be there.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And like I love that. I have a very musical background as well. I grew up dancing and doing playing guitar, and I taught myself ukulele and like all the things. Like I just I Musa was one of my favorites growing up as well. So I love that. Wow, you knocked out those rapid fire questions. Like you knocked them out of the park. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into some very fun stories that Michael has for us from his time with his Winx Club blog, Michael's Winx Club, and also to the years of working closely with the Winx team at Rainbow to putting on licensing expos with them. So stay tuned.
Hi Lola, this is Nikki from Austria in Europe. This is my message to you. It's honestly just a big thank you to you for creating the podcast. It's been amazing to listen to it. I've been a fan since the first episode aired. I love to hear your thoughts and opinions and experiences. Especially when like I haven't seen a lot of people do something Winx related like that. So yeah, it's been great, and that's why it'd be such an honor to be on it. My question that you asked on Instagram, it's what would have you done with Winx Club after the Secret of the Lost Kingdom, like with the story, with the characters, plot, for the following seasons, as it was like the movie was the intended ending of the whole show, but obviously it wasn't. Yeah, I hope to meet you one day, and just thank you for being an amazing Winx fan and an amazing Winx friend. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for your question, Nikki. It means so much to me that you've been listening to the show since the very first episode. Oh my goodness. And now we're almost to episode 20 of the Winx Forever podcast. What a time. Gosh, that is such a great question. I don't know honestly, I probably would have had the Winx Club after they graduated at Secret of Lost Kingdom. Obviously, Bloom then gained her full Enchantix. I mean, just seeing their lives progress after school and after their time at Althea to become the true like guardian fairies that they were supposed to be of their realms. And instead of putting them back in schoolgirl uniforms and sending them back to school in the later seasons, it would have been really cool to have seen them grown into adulthood and explore more mature themes that would relate to the older audiences. But I guess that is what they are trying to do with Fate the Winx Saga, to whatever extent that might be. Thanks so much for your question. And if you would like to be featured on the Winx Forever podcast, be sure to hit up my speakpipe.com/Winx Forever podcast and leave me a 30-second to 1 minute voice message with your question and who you are and where you're from. And I'd love to feature you. OG Winx fan and creator of popular Winx Fan Site, Michael's Winx Club. Michael, your website was like just up there with all the majorly popular Winx sites, such as Winx Club Live Journal, which shut down, like just a couple years before yours, like in 2017. Una de Noi, which shut down in like 2018. But your site was one of the sites. Yeah, your site was like one of the sites that, I mean, really like went the distance, like lasted up until like the 15-year anniversary of Winx Club, which, I mean, is just amazing. What made you start Michael's Winx Club? Like your Winx blog, like, I mean, you started it 6 days after the very first episode premiered. Like, I mean, what?
I think seeing that first episode just, seeing the commercials leading up to it got my interest. And when I saw that first episode, Bloom's fighting in the park and whatnot, and then Stella shows up and she's got her staff and all, and I'm like, hey, this is cool. So I really got into it, and I says, you know what, I like this. I'm gonna make a website for it. And so it took me a while to come up with a design. I had the screen capture, so I had imagery to start with. And of course, it being so new, you're researching, trying to find pictures. What can I use? What backgrounds am I going to use? What's it going to look like? And so when you're starting from scratch, you can have all kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
As a manager, make those decisions and then, press forward, right? So that's what I did. And, the more I learned, the better I got at it. And, as things progressed, more got added to it and whatnot. I really enjoyed doing the screenshots for it because you can relive the episode without having to see it. One of the challenging things was recording the WAV files for all the commercials because there were so many commercials and there were different ones all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you didn't catch them that 1 or 2 weeks they aired, you never saw them again. So I was real big on, every new episode preview, every promo, I tried to capture them as best I could. When you're thinking about making a website, when you want somebody to visit it, you have to provide something that's unique, something that's, only your site has, or only something your site does best or, better, whatnot. And so I was like, you know what? When I was doing my Card Captors website, I was real big in the merchandise section because there was so much out of Japan. I was like, you know what? I wonder what's out there, and so I started doing the research. I was seeing what was on the store shelves at Walmart, and Toys R Us from Mattel back then, and gathering the materials and all, so to put something together. So it essentially became like a historical archive, if you will, of all the different versions of dolls and what companies made them and where can you find them and dolls is just one thing. I mean, I had pictures for shoes and jewelry and whatever you could think of, it was there. And then on top of that, I was like, you know what? I bet if I'm into it this much, others might be too. I says, I might as well start a news page and keep track of, what's out there, what's happening in the Winx universe and all that stuff, just to keep people informed. And by doing that, that gave you something new to see each time you came to visit. So that became a real good theme. As I better keep this news page updated because there's lots happening out there. And if you're not committed to do the research and find stuff every day, then like why bother? And so a lot of people don't know, but I did the entire website by myself, so it was just me. So anytime fans sent me news and I posted it, I made sure to give them credit because I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And so some fans wanted to be anonymous. That's okay if you don't want your name out there, no problem. Stuff, but I was very big on giving credit where credit is due. And if you sent me something to use on my news page or post in the merchandise section or whatever, you got credit for it. I was real big on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's something that, I mean, with the popularity of the internet, just, exploding over the past decade, it just, fan sites and fan accounts and everything just kind of exploded with it. And I feel like that's something that's really lost nowadays, is just that integrity of the fan reshare and all of that, and people stealing content, and it's just really messy, and so I feel like that's very honorable, because it's something that is so lost on this new generation, I feel like, of fans. So man, come on guys, learn something from this. Credit your people.
Right. Yeah. I remember back in the day too, we would make standard size button images and banner images that people could use to post on other fan sites to advertise and say, hey, I'm a friend of them. We have the same values. We share the same, likes and dislikes and whatnot. And so, having that affiliate program was also important, too, because you're saying that, I'm friends with their site and, they do some of the same things that I do. And that's just spreading the love out there. Now, as the internet grew and things like that, there was a newer generation that felt, well, if it's on the internet, I can take whatever I want, repost it wherever I want, whenever I wanted, and that was a real bummer. And there were a lot of times where I found news, and it would take me several days before I could get permission from the owner of the image to reuse it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't one of those that I was just going and taking whatever I found and reposting it. There were a lot of times where there was some negotiating, involved or asking for permission to do the right thing. And one of the things that me personally that I disliked the most on my site was having to put the Michael's Winx Club label on an image.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where, if people thought that they could just steal whatever they wanted, didn't matter who owned it or not, and reposted, it was one of those things that just left a bad taste in your mouth, So I hated labeling the images, but I had to protect my work at the same time because it's just me. And, if I go and just take somebody else's images and repost them, how does that make my site unique if I'm just using someone else's content?
Oh my gosh, you are preaching. Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's so hard. Like you said, these people think that everything on the internet is just theirs for the taking, and it's not true. It builds better community when you ask permission and when you look out for one another, because then you have kind of the shared interest and the shared stake in the content. It's so important to, and I cannot stress this enough, especially personally being friends with so many Winx artists and bloggers and comic writers. The sheer amount of just theft volume and is just absolutely insane. And there are accounts that have just thousands and thousands of followers and it's just reposted content, and it's why? What is happening?
Yeah, so anytime I had a fan art contest, I would think of a subject or a topic that wasn't out there. So it wasn't like you could just take somebody else's fan art, submit it to the contest, and hope to win. But some people claim it was another trick of mine to get more followers, was have contests and give away free Winx merchandise. I was like, well, no, but it was nice to give back to the community. And
Yeah.
I had all kinds of extra stuff. There was a time where every year I was bringing sets of Winx Club dolls for the Christmas Marine Corps Toys for Tots, and just
Yeah.
donating them so that underprivileged children could have the chance to have a fairy too.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be people that say, stuff like that, like, oh, you're just doing this for clout. Oh, you're just doing this. Like, some of that you just have to, it sounds like you did, like, just kind of let it roll off your shoulders and just keep doing you. And
Yep.
I
There'll
feel like
always be
that's,
haters, but you just
yeah.
gotta believe in yourself. That's why season 4 meant so much. The believing, that power of believing in yourself. You're the sum of your parts. Inner strength, things like that. That's why season 4 to me was the most impactful.
Yes. Oh, and just even, I remember season 4, like it being just like a light at the end of the tunnel for me, because I didn't know. I knew because I was kind of like on all the different Winx fan sites getting all the information, no, like I knew because of like sites like yours that, that Winx was coming back. I had someone at Rainbow that I would communicate through email with, that they would give me little tidbits and stuff, so that's how I knew about like the Secret of Lost Kingdom and stuff like that.
Right.
We didn't have any of that in America, and like I remember watching Secret of Lost Kingdom in Italian for the first time, and some bootleg YouTube copy.
Right, with the Winx Power Show, the Winx on Ice, the Winx fashion shows. It was all those things that we weren't getting. It was like, we want more Winx, and they had it over there. Why can't we get it over here? And so anytime there was like the Winx Mall tour, I had to like travel up to Pennsylvania because it was the closest one to where I live, just so that I could go to the mall, and see whatever show they were doing and stuff, and try to win the raffle and things like that. Funny story with that, they had this little pink TV that was sitting on the table, and they were showing this like Winx demo reel or something to promote the show. And at one point there was a screen that went across, and it was Stella and her Enchantix, and it was the first time that I'd ever saw it. And back then I had a flip phone, so no camera, right? So I had my other camera hanging on me. So it was on like a 10-minute loop. So I'm trying to time it, holding my camera up to this TV, and trying to get that shot because it goes pretty quick, just so I could post a news thing. It took me 4 times before I got the right picture, just so that I could repost and say, hey, look, I saw something new.
My goodness, that's so incredible.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, we didn't have anything like that I can remember in like the Southeast where I live. And it's really sad, to think about, like, and especially, I was 9 when Winx Club premiered, like I was not even in middle school yet. And so, of course, like my access to some things like that would have been limited anyway, to the will of my parents.
Right.
But and that's when really, like, I have the unique, I feel like I'm like one of the, I'm the youngest millennial there is. Like I'm like literally like I was born at the cutoff year of the cutoff year you could be a millennial.
Right.
And so, but like the unique thing that like millennials, like the young millennials like me have, is like we grew up with both, not having internet and then having internet, like right. I remember when I couldn't get on winxclub.com because my mom was on the phone, like, and we had dial up. Like, right.
Yep. I remember too, it was trying to, when did I have time to FTP the files up to post the, before someone had to use the phone, because we only had like the one line and stuff. Oh yeah, I remember those days. You could tell people like I'm older than Google, and like, no, you're not. It's like, you don't understand. Like, I'm older than the iPhone. Like, no, you're not. It's only been around this long.
Oh my gosh, I remember being
so little, and on my family, the family computer, watching Winx Club videos on this brand new thing called YouTube, and it just being like, I just remember thinking to myself, like, man, I wish that I had my own computer and I could set the background to whatever I want and it would be all Winx Club all the time. And like, I just had this vision of like, and I would be a reporter and I would have my own website and all this stuff. And like, to think about that now, and I'm like, oh, little me would have loved that. Like, would have loved to have known like that I grew up and like am still watching Winx Club and still am so like invested in it. And I don't know, it's just like really fun to think about like how your younger self, and like, I mean, so many years ago when this aired, like saying like, this is a special thing and it's going to be a part of the rest of your life. And that's, I don't know, that's so special.
Right. Yeah. A lot of cartoons will come and go. Some will have, big fan community, some not so much. It just depends on the timing, the hit or miss, what's going on in the world at the time,
Right.
Things like that. You think of shows like, or even games like Pac-Man.
Yes.
Pac-Man's been around for a long time and people recognize the name and stuff. So getting that name recognition, anywhere, nowadays with so much content out there, for Winx to have lasted this long is amazing.
Yeah.
17 years. Actually more than that because there was a development stage before that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So people tell me all the time, it's like, well, you're an adult, like you watch cartoons and stuff. It's like, well, adults are the ones that create the cartoons. They're the ones doing the drawings. They're the ones doing the storyboards, the editing room, the music,
Right.
all of it. So it's like they're all adults. You think about some of the, like even the Japanese anime and stuff. There's huge fandoms. They're all adults.
All of them. Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I know.
so it's
And
like, who says you have to outgrow cartoons? I mean, I'll grab a DVD off the shelf, put it in, and have some nostalgia Super Friends or whatever.
yes.
Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. Growing up with the classics. He-Man, She-Ra, Thundercats, GI Joe, Transformers. I mean, it's a part of your life. So same with Winx Club. You watched it because you enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I was also like in high school and then into college. I loved My Little Pony. Like that was like a thing, like just a fun thing that me and my best friend enjoyed together. And yeah, we would get all the things of like, oh, are you a brony? And it's like, first of all, it's called Pegasister, and no, leave me alone. Like, like yeah, like let people enjoy what they enjoy. Like, I mean, it's not hurting you. Like, chill out. Oh, I love it. The season 4 was your favorite season, and it holds a close like thing to my heart too, because I mean, growing up in America, like we mentioned, like we didn't have a lot of I just hit my thing. We didn't have a lot of the stuff that that Europe got, and Russia and a bunch of other kind of territories, but we did have the internet, and the internet, I mean by that was like 2008, 2009. Like by that time, like YouTube was off and running. We had access now to things that we, was going on over there, more so than kind of prior years. So, I mean, I remember just seeing the opening of like season 4, and it's like Winx were back again. Like me thinking that like Winx Club was over after Secret of Lost Kingdom, like me thinking that like season 3 was it. Like I was just like elated. Like it was just, I couldn't like believe, like it was so sweet. Like just even the intro is just like, Winx, we're back again. I was like,
I loved it. Yeah, that's my favorite opening theme song as well. And how fun was it to meet Roxy?
oh my gosh,
Roxy was awesome. And she was like, I don't want anything to do with this fairy business. I got my own animals to take care of and stuff. And
Yeah, I love that it was like literally the exact opposite of like Bloom when she found out she was a fairy. She was like, I don't
I'm all
have time
in.
for any of this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Roxy was literally like, no thanks. And Bloom's like, this is what I've been training for. Like, this is like my whole life.
Right. But all the things that they introduced in that season, there was so much there. You had the Love and Pet, you had the feuding music bar. I think they had the concert or the rock line, and then of course the regular Believe It's line and stuff.
Yes.
So I mean, like they had a lot of material to work with.
And then of course the ever so unfortunate like loss of one of our beloved characters. Like what on earth? Like people are like, oh, you watch a kids show, is like, listen, this stuff is deep. Like people literally die in this show.
We have feelings. Like when they cry, we cry. You don't want them to break up. What are you doing? Why is Riven and Musa fighting again? Like, come on, can't we all get along?
Oh man, I know.
But at the same time too, Musa and Riven showed, life's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have differences of opinion. You're going to have different likes and dislikes and stuff. So it kind of gave a little realism, to this fantasy world we were enjoying. Not every couple is perfect.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. It's funny because the fandom, especially nowadays, are always like, well, Ribbon and Musa are so toxic. It's like, well, yes, true, but there are toxic people in the world, and like we have to learn about them too.
So Riven was my favorite, male specialist, and here's why. He never thought he was, the guy, the alpha, or he was always shooting to be better. He was always trying to be, number one, and if he couldn't beat Brendan, then he needed to go practice, and so his character had a lot of depth to it. Whereas some of the other characters, everything was peachy, and it's like that's not how the world works. And so Riven, he had inner challenges that he had to overcome, and that's what made his character believable when you watch the show. So you're right, like there's some deep feelings, that you want him to succeed. And crap, he lost another sword fight, and he's like, well, it's back to practice. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
He did also have some not so redeeming qualities. I mean, there was the whole like he like sent his dragon to attack Sky. Like, I mean, he had some pitfalls, but don't we all?
Right, exactly. So he might have needed a little more supervision. So, but overall, you can't fault him for trying. Now, of course, cheating is not the answer, obviously. We all know that. So there are other ways. But, if you did your best, and still got second place, that means you beat everybody that was below you. So second place is not the end of the world. And that also gives you a goal to shoot for next time.
Yeah, honestly.
That helped Riven be that, an overall character that had a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. Something that I would love to get like kind of your input on, since you were introduced to, Winx Club through the 4Kids version like myself.
Mm-hmm.
After you learned that there were so many different, dubs obviously across the world, but that our dub, the 4Kids dub, our dub, had the most liberties taken with it. What was kind of your reaction with that? What did you feel or think about? And which one do you prefer more?
So some people don't know or understand that. So here in the US or region 1, there's a certain amount of screen time and a certain amount of commercial time. So in other countries, they might have more airtime to a show. So something has to get cut to make it fit in the USA time slot, if you will, or the timing. So when you go to the shows or you see advertisings and they say, a 26 episode season, 26 minutes each, it's 26 minutes an episode. But if you only have room for 24 minutes, something's gotta get cut. So I remember it was a season 2 episode, with the Pixies. I love the Pixies. They were awesome.
Yeah.
So in season 2, when they introduced like all these new characters of Pixies, I was like, wow, there's some creative people over there. Look at all these new characters. So there was an episode I saw from the RAI version. It's like the Euro English, I think is what people refer to it sometimes.
Yeah.
There was an episode where I think it was Livy. She smacked Piff, and then Piff was crying. And then the next scene, you see them all pop up out of the bush, and they're all smiling like nothing happened. I'm like, what the heck? And I don't remember that scene. So when I saw the USA version, they had cut that part out, and I was like, you know what? It's a good thing they did, because I liked the episode better without that slap in there.
Oh yeah, and like when and the fact that they erased the slap that Musa gave Icy in the first season, and instead she cast a spell on her. She didn't slap her.
Oh, yeah, they like cut it to where she went like, one of those,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh look, there's a wart on your side of your.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of a big handprint there from where she slapped her.
Yeah, and for your audience, they have to understand USA's audience and their censorships and all that garbage that they have to deal with. You don't want to set a bad example, for kids to do what they see on TV, if you will. So if she cast a spell and a wart showed up on her face, that's a little more believable, and not saying that you're going to go and slap your sister or whatever.
Right.
Just because Musa did it.
Yeah, and that's totally something I would have gotten in trouble for. Like, well, Musa did it, like as a kid, and would have been put in timeout or something. So,
and the only other big edits I remember was when Nickelodeon picked up the show, and they wanted to fast track the first and second season so they could get on with the new stuff.
yeah.
And so, there was a concentrated effort, and Rainbow was involved in all that stuff to create those mini episodes, if you will. I think they were an hour long or something.
Yeah, the like
Or
TV
4 parts
specials.
for season 1 or something.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a way to reintroduce it, have the new voice cast, but not bore everybody to death because they've already seen it, and now it's just new voices. So it was a quick way to get through what's already been there, and now let's focus on the new content, so that you can keep the audience and grab a new audience.
Do you think that was successful?
I think so, because we were anxious to see what was new and different. And if we had to go through season 1 and season 2 all over again, and if it was 1 episode a week, that's like 2 years, or 52 weeks, so 1 year if they went back to back, and
right.
Before we could see new stuff, and by then some could get bored with it, or time slots could move around, and so I thought it was a pretty smart move to compress what we already knew, but yet give enough so that if it was new people, because it's on Nickelodeon, so it could be a different audience, give enough to grab them. There's enough character backgrounds, everybody knows who everybody is, and get on with the new stuff.
Interesting.
And I felt that was a pretty smart decision, but I come from it from a different point of view than others.
Right. Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like, when you look at all of the versions now, what version is your favorite? Is it the 4Kids? Is it the Cinelume? Is it the Nickelodeon?
Yeah, it's a hard choice because we didn't have 4Kids dub all of it. So you can only make your decision based on 4Kids doing, season 1, 2, and that's kind of it. And so when you get to the rest, now you have a different voice cast. And so is it because you like the episodes better, or the theme better, or the voices better? It's a tough call. I think I started with the 4Kids version, and that's what got me hooked. So I think that's where, my first love, I guess, comes from. Yeah. But I remember when they cast the Nickelodeon voice actresses, and they all formed a friendly group real quick, and they were happy to promote the show on their own social media and stuff too. Yeah. Even Molly C. Quinn, who was the voice of Blue, she was at the San Diego Comic-Con where they were giving out the raffle for the 1 gold version of Bloom, and she was willing to sign it for free for whoever won the raffle, and whoever they chose wasn't there, and we were all like bummed and stuff. I was trying to watch it live, and all. But Alexandra, I think she was the voice of Flora. the Nickelodeon
Yes,
version.
yes.
She had
So
like the Flora
sweet.
banner on her Twitter account and stuff.
Yes. Oh my gosh. She
So,
to this day, like, I feel like is still like one of the most approachable, like, oh my gosh, she's incredible.
Yep. And Romy Dames, I think, who did the voice of Lisa. I
Yes.
think she nailed it pretty good too.
Oh, she
Have her
is
autograph.
incredible. The kind of like bond also that those voice actresses like formed as our favorite fairies, you know, it was so sweet, and it reminds me now of like kind of the bond that we're seeing formed on the cast of the Fate the Winx saga. I mean, like it's so special, and like it's I love it.
Yeah, it's not just a job to them. You know, it's their new family. You know, they're happy to be there and stuff. So you don't see a lot of that in the industry. You know, you do one job, you move to the next one, or you hope you get another season so you keep getting a paycheck, you know. But, you know, in the voice acting world, you know, that's a totally different way of production than live action and stuff. So, you know, when you have a nice knit group of people that do voice acting, you know, another good example is those that did voices on the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
You know, they
Oh
had
my
a
gosh,
real
yes.
good, tight knit group of people. So when they get together at a convention, you know, they're kicking back, having a good time, you know, and they're down to earth people. You know, they're just like us. You know, and I
Absolutely.
think, you know, who Nickelodeon cast for the different voices, I thought fit pretty well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As an OG Winxer and as someone that is very well versed with the 4Kids version, do you think that the liberties that they did take with changing some of the storyline, or they didn't, that's my thing with it. A lot of people have this misconception about the 4Kids version, I feel like, and I just got really defensive about it because it's literally so close to my heart. But I feel like they have this misconception of it because they're like, oh well, they changed so much in it, but then they can't name 5 things that they changed, you know, like they haven't taken the time to actually like watch all of it and actually appreciate it. And what's so funny is that Stella, Fairy of Magics, was messaging me on Instagram the other day, and she's like, I am rewatching 4Kids version of Winx Club. She's like, and I can't believe all of the like attention to detail that it took to have to completely like rearrange the whole series, like not the whole series, but like just rearrange like episodes, like the edits that they did, the cuts that they did, like I mean the dialogue, like it was all so like well done, and it took a lot, you know, like it wasn't just like they redubbed it, like they reorchestrated it almost.
Yep, I remember. One of my favorite episodes was Hollow Winx. So, you know, in that episode, there were so many Easter eggs, and you had the one little pixie that kept changing her outfits and stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but I can see her clear as day. So when I saw
Jolly,
the that's it.
Yes.
Was it Jolly?
I think so, yeah, because she did the tarot card reading, right?
Yeah, I thought.
Oh no, it was
she was the one who had the glasses.
Yeah, it was the little bumblebee.
Yeah. Jolly,
Zing
I think, was the clown one or something.
Yeah, Jolly was the clown one, and she did the little tarot card reading in the beginning of the show to that pixie, and she was like freaked out. And she's also the pixie that went to Cloud Tower with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Hollow Winx, you know, there were some changes because, for example, there's one scene where the pixie's dressed up as Spider-Man, you know, for licensing, copyright stuff, whatever, you know, that was an easy cut. There was another character that was dressed up as Freddy Krueger. And if you see the episode, you see, I think, when they colored his shirt like solid and they got rid of his wrinkle on his face or something like that, or the got rid of the claws or whatever. You know, those kinds of edits, those are fine, you know, because it is geared towards children, you know, and things. So little stuff like that, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, to me. But, you know, I'm old enough, you know, and mature enough to appreciate it, you know, and so when I see it, I'm not trying to call out flaws or, you know, talk negative about it. I think that was something else too that attracted people to my site, was that I promoted the show. I didn't try to discredit the show.
Right. Oh, That's really sweet. That's a really sweet sentiment. I feel like I get very not I feel like I get very critical, especially in the past couple of years of kind of where the franchise is now as a whole.
Hmm.
And I have to catch myself and like just remember why like I love being a part of this fandom, and why I've stuck with this franchise for even this
Right.
long is because of the original series, because of the stories it told, and because of all the things
Right.
that it's brought me
Right.
through,
Hmm.
and just
Yeah.
to
When we see
appreciate that.
Yeah, when we see Bloom, we know what Bloom looks like. And when you go through all the different series, there weren't that many changes, to their look other than like their hair or something like that. Now, Musa,
Right.
if you watch in the beginning, you can see where her eyes are a little, closer. And as the
Yeah.
series went on, she got bigger and bigger eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I only recognize that from like Japanese anime because of
Right.
the detail they put in their eyes. And so as the goes along, we're used to seeing the Winx characters look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And for shows to survive, a lot of times you might hear they got to refresh or rebrand or redesign or reboot. I hate that word. Like, let's reboot it. Like, why reboot it? What's wrong with the way it was?
Right. Yeah.
So when season 8 came out and it had a different look and feel to it, it's trying to
Mm.
appeal to a new audience. And those of us that were, in the fandom for a long time, we felt that, why change what was working?
Yeah.
But again, too, we're not the decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the creative people. We're not the ones seeing the marketing dollars and things like that. So
Yeah. Because
you
at the
have
end
to
of the
look
day,
at
it
it
is a
from a business
business.
point of view.
Right. Yeah.
Look at how many times Ben 10 changed or Ninja
Oh,
Turtles.
yeah.
How many different incarnations of TMNT are there?
So many. Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Right. So, as the times change, as technology improves, as different audiences grow up and new ones come out, you sometimes some people feel you change to adapt to survive. And when you look at the animation industry, even the movie entertainment industry, it is brutal. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you have to know what you're doing and have connections and have that business sense and things like that. It's not just,
Yeah.
pretend everything's hunky dory and well, I'll be millionaires. It doesn't work that way.
Right. I know.
It is a business.
One of my favorite movies of all times was an absolute flop in the box office. It was the like 2007 Speed Racer movie. Um with John Goodman. Oh my god, it was like one of my favorite films. I still to this day can like quote it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a nerd. But like yeah, and like you said, like I would have never known that it was a flop, but like they obviously didn't go on to make a second one because it didn't make enough money in the box office. There wasn't enough
Right.
like, stuff. So yeah, like things like that, we just don't ever know what is going on behind the scenes. And there's no way to tell what that is. So really just kind of taking it all in for what it is and what it is to you, I feel like it's kind of the best strategy.
Right. Yeah. If you liked it and you watched it and you enjoyed it and it made you happy, then who cares what somebody else thinks?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you like a movie and somebody else didn't, so what?
Right. That's why I never trust Rotten Tomato.
Yeah. If you don't like it, you don't
Yeah.
have to watch it. So don't waste my time trashing it. I like it, so I enjoy it. So that's just all there is. If
Right.
someone doesn't like Winx Club, okay, fine. Don't watch it. Go watch something else.
Absolutely. Another thing that people have beef with the 4Kids version is the like changes to the names. Like obviously, like everyone slams like 4Kids version for renaming Layla, but like everybody renamed Layla except for the original Italian.
Mhm.
And then like Sparks instead of Domino, those sort of things. The Harmonic Nebula. Techna was from the third vector of the binary galaxy. So
Right.
it's like so many different things like that. Like Flora was from Marigold, like not even like Lynthea until the until season 3 it was called Lynthea. But
Right.
yeah, but just stuff like that. Like people have beef with like that, but like I feel like those are very like trivial things, and that the core essence of the show was not lost at all. Or else I don't think that. I don't know. Like it's still the same show. It still has the same core.
Right. Yeah. When if you watch the 4 Kids version and that's what you first saw and grew up with and enjoyed the show from the beginning, you didn't know there was any other version,
No.
and until research, surf the internet, and find out that, oh, hey, they named it something else over here. Well,
Right.
okay, you know, either that makes you angry, or you're like, great, we have 2 different versions. Okay, live with
Right. Yeah. What a
it.
fun piece of
Yeah.
trivia. Yeah.
So it just depends on when you have a show and you're licensing it out across the country, across the world, essentially. What creative um, requirements do those companies have when they, dub something? So you might have seen some of the Pixar movies where they have, the behind the scenes stuff. And if something was um, shown here in America, and when they show it in Japan, they might have a rice ball instead of a donut or something.
Yeah.
It's things like that. You've seen in the Pokemon, they do that and
Yeah.
stuff because American children don't know what a rice ball is.
Right.
But in
Yeah.
Japan, it's everywhere.
Especially not
So,
in 2004. Like, gosh, like.
right. So renaming a city, Domino or changing Gardena or whatever, that's just trivial stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy the show as a whole, and if I learn more about it and there's a different version over here, then it's nice to see what's different because that's
Yeah.
something new for you to see.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been really fun for me going back, especially with like my little like trivia things on my Instagram, like going back and one, I have to research those so much because people will call me out so quick, which like, thank you. Like, I'm glad that they do, because I want to be held accountable for and make it all fun for everybody. But at the same time, yeah, I have to like make sure I know my stuff. So
Right.
I'm like researching, I'm cross referencing. Wow, I can't talk. Good thing I have a podcast.
Yeah. It was the same thing on my side too. If I use trivia as one of the contests for like my website anniversary
Yeah.
or something, I had to make sure that the answers, there was only one answer, or if I was displaying a bunch of screenshots and it was like, name that episode, it had to be the USA title. Like you had to make the rules pretty clear
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, people can get real nitpicky when it comes to the trivia, especially those that grew up with Star Trek and all. When you have
for
Star Trek trivia contests,
Well, when it's a show that's so, close to you, like obviously like all the stuff for it. Like
right.
I mean that's like a pride thing. Like
Right.
that's something special, like
or you think till you see one of your trivias and you're like, crap, was that really 3 or 4? And you're trying to remember all that, long ago.
And it's really funny. I tell people all the time, it's like, you can Google this stuff. They're like, that's cheating. And I'm like, well, not really. I did it to find these,
I remember doing the trivia. It was like all the answers can be found on my website. You just had to go find it.
Go digging. Yeah.
Right,
It's just using your resources.
Yep.
Incredible. Well, before we wrap up this part, because man, we have so much to talk about, and we will get to even more. I would love to know like what your thoughts are on Fate the Winx saga. I'm throwing you a curveball.
So I did watch it, and I remember when the marketing staff at Rainbow were posting screenshots that it was #1 in Turkey, #1 in Russia, #1 in all these different countries, and I didn't see USA listed. I was like, why is they not listed? And it was like a day later or so when it became #1 on Netflix, and I took a picture with my phone and sent it to him. It says, "We finally got there."
Yeah.
But I did watch it, and I could tell right away that it was kind of a cross between Harry Potter and it was something else. It's escaping me at the moment, but I could tell it was for a more mature audience. So like those that grew up with Winx, we knew who the characters were, and now you've got a more down to earth version that of course still had magic in it, but they're not flying. There's no wings or anything, which spoiler alert. Okay, like you see one at the end. Yeah. So it was a different way, like another way to reboot, rebrand, refresh, whatever, a different way to tell the story, but still live in the same universe.
Yeah.
So you still had specialists, you still had teachers at Althea, whatnot. Now, whether the kids came from different places or, you know, whichever, like they didn't use Flora, they had a girl named Tara, which to me was fine. They were adding a new element to the show, and I thought she nailed it perfectly.
Yeah.
And so with every show, you're gonna have things you like, things you don't like, and whatnot. I wasn't a big fan of the killing at the end. So okay, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
When they,
Honestly,
I
if
think
they
it was
haven't
Miss
seen it yet.
Paragonda was up in the air, and then she like this and snapped.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
oh my god, this is deep.
What a thing to end a series or a season. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? I
Yeah.
was like, already I was emotionally recovering from like the montage at the Peters home, and
Right.
then they give me that, and I'm like,
Right.
what am I supposed to do with this information?
Yeah. Now it was a real great cliffhanger.
Oh yeah,
They
for sure.
totally could had plenty of material to lead into a season 2. And with the feedback and stuff that Rainbow's received, of course there will be a season 2, and that's probably already been spoiled already because I think they're changing like fashion designers or something. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. It is for an older audience, so I would give that. So that's why there's the World of Winx, for the younger kids on Netflix and stuff.
Yes.
So, yep, the Dreamix.
I know. Oh, I love World of Winx. It is like for a younger demo, but like the art style is one of my all-time favorites, and it's just so pretty and clean.
I remember seeing that their final form in the wings, and I remember standing on a chair on the day before the expo, and I'm holding my camera up to the TV to record it so I could get the screenshot from the trailer they were playing. So when I posted it, it was huge news because no one knew what the Dreamix looked like. So that was a big news attention getter there when I broke that news.
Incredible. Well, one last question. Can you believe that 17 years later we're still talking about Winx Club? Like, can you believe it?
Isn't that amazing? It shows the powerhouse of what you can do with a single thought. Mr. Straffi had to have the idea. You had to build on it. You have to create a Bible. What are the characters' backgrounds? What do they look like? Where are they? What kind of stories are going to have? The villains and stuff. And so it gives you a baseline that you can build off of. So as you saw, like when we got season 2, we got all those pixies and stuff. I mean, that's a lot of new characters to essentially refresh the show off the bat.
Yeah.
And then as we went along, Enchantix was the first, real big transformation. You had the bigger wings and stuff, and that was a big new thing. So they were able to build on something as they went along. And as you got more fandom, that of course had more money. So when you have more money, you can do more things, so that brings you back to the Winx Power Show, the Winx on Ice, more chances to get out there and expose it to more fans. And the more fans you have, the more that are watching, the ratings are higher. That means more advertising dollars. That means more merchandise. They all work together. That's why I said, like, the entertainment industry is brutal. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can crash and burn real quick, or you can be real successful and be like the number 16 or 15 company in the world as far as profits.
Absolutely, man. What an incredible time and an incredible show and just an incredible conversation we've been having. And I am super excited to continue our conversation in the next episode because we have way too much to cover. So, well, friends, we're going to have to pause here, but we will continue our conversation with Michael because, like I said, he has yet to share some just amazing stories he has for us, including meeting the creator of Winx Club himself, Eugenio Straffi. So see you next time. I always say see you next time in my first take, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anybody. It's a podcast.
I'll see you when I see you.
Why do I do this? I do this every time. I need to make a note.
It's like saying, I'll speak at you later. It's like, what, through the phone? You know?
It's like, it's like when you say to your waiter, when he says, enjoy your food, and you say, you too. I'm like, no.
Thanks for listening. You've enjoyed this episode of the Winx Forever podcast. Be sure to follow or subscribe to the show on your preferred streaming platform to be notified when new episodes drop. Join in on the conversation when you follow at Winx Forever Podcast on social media. The theme for the Winx Forever podcast is the song She Makes Magic by Big Wild.